Good morning. Welcome back. It's Monday. We're starting off with a little repair job, I guess. I don't know. I was out here on Saturday working on my insulation a little bit up there in the ceiling, putting some styrofoam up, and my boom lift died. And I kind of assume that it ran out of fuel, out of gas. No big deal, right? Get down, you put some gas in it, you start it back up and go. Well, I did that. I put 5 gallons of gas in, and it will not start. It will crank and crank and crank, but it acts like it is not getting any fuel, and I don't know why. So I'm trying to diagnose that and figure out what the problem is. I wish this is a dual fuel. I could put an LP tank on there. I wish I had one here. I don't. They're at Berkey. That I could stick on there and see if it runs on LP, because then I know it's a fuel issue, because the LP is pressurized. It would get right to the chamber, and that would make this easier. But anyway, we're diagnosing, trying to figure out what the problem is. So, I'm not sure what exactly to do. Our fuel pump is right here, and it runs. I can hear it running. Every time you turn the key on, it runs for 10 and 15 seconds and then shuts off, and that comes into this filter, and then there's 2 lines coming out of there. I'm not sure where they go. I haven't traced them yet. I don't know if I should pull one of those off and turn the key on, make sure it's pumping, or pull a spark plug and make sure that I don't know that we have spark. I'm not a mechanic when it comes to engines and stuff like this. I mean, you get fuel, air, and spark, right? Seems pretty simple, and I think we're not getting fuel right now. Yeah, so anyway, I was trying to print something in the office today, and one of our toner cartridges was empty, and I thought I had a spare because there was a box in the office there that I thought was spare. Turns out it was a used one, and it's empty, and so I need some toner for the printer. I could run and get that, stop at the Berkey farm, grab one of my LP tanks, and try that. It would be better to be running this on LP inside anyway, from an emissions standpoint, so I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards doing that. I kind of had planned on doing the service work on the combine today, changing engine oil, all that kind of stuff, so that's still kind of the plan for this afternoon. Where did we leave off? Probably right here. Well, I went and got my ink so I could print what I needed to print, and a propane tank. It goes right here. We're gonna see what happens when we hook this up. You guys hear that? That ain't gonna work. Shoot. LP hose has got a hole in it. Dang it. Alright, well, back to figuring out why it won't start on gas, I guess. Shoot. I was hoping that was going to be an easy button. I mean, I couldn't get a new hose. I should probably just get a new hose. I'll have to figure out where to get one. Can't be that big of a deal. It just goes to there. Be nice to know if it ran on troubleshooting before I spent money on a hose. So I've got a few ideas we're going to try and see if we can't get this thing to start. One, we're going to fill the gas tank. Maybe it's a priming issue, although it's a top draw, and I can see the pump running, so I don't know. We're going to start there with filling the tank, and then we're going to take a hose off on the after the pump and just see if it's getting fuel all the way through it from the tank here. And then we're going to trace it and see if we can figure out where it's going from there into the engine. And I don't know. I don't really know what to do here, but we're going to figure it out. Okay, well, adding fuel didn't fix it. I pulled this fuel line off. This is coming from the tank. This is the fuel pump. Goes into this fuel filter. This is a return back to the tank. This is the pressure line going up to the engine. Fuel comes out of here real fast when you turn the key on. The pump is working. So we've got fuel at least to there, and that pressurizes up to the injectors or the manifold or whatever you call that. So now I'm thinking maybe it's a spark issue. Try and pull a spark plug. Let's see. They're sort of a pain to get to, but do what you got to do, right? That one's the easiest. Yeah. It doesn't look great. Oop, let's try that. Let me get my spark plug wrench. We'll pull that rusty spark plug out of there, and maybe we just need to change them. I don't know. Looks like a coolant leak there. Good to know. Man, I'm not having any luck here. I found a bleeder valve. Let me turn the light on so you can see. I think that's a bleeder anyway. I loosened it up and I got fuel to come out there. So we've got fuel right to the injectors. Now, whether we're not getting a signal to open them, electrical issue, maybe a fuse, which I found a fuse panel here. I don't have my electrical tester to test if those fuses have continuity or not, but yeah, I don't know. It's not any of those fuses. I pulled them all out and looked at them. I mean, visually at least. We're either not getting spark or fuel or air. The air filter is clean. We've got fuel to the injectors. I don't know how to check for spark. It is possible that we didn't actually run out of fuel and that something else went bad and I just thought we ran out of fuel because it died and acts like that, where it turns over and won't start. But it could be an ignition problem or something with the it could be the electrical signal to the injectors not opening them, so they're just letting fuel into the chamber, or it could be our distributor or whatever you want to call it up there that provides the signal for the spark to the spark plugs, or the electric to the spark plugs. I don't really know, to be quite honest. I don't know, and I'm not the guy to know how to test that. I could get a test light out, I suppose, and figure out we're getting spark. If it was a single engine Honda or something, I would pull the spark plug and grind it and pull the rope and see if I got a spark. I don't know if that's a good idea on a fuel injected 4-cylinder because, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's how you check it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm done messing with this for today. We're going to go change oil in the combine. Well, I screwed around with that boom lift for entirely too long, but it's okay. We're going to back the combine outside and let her run for 5 minutes at high idle. Get the oil nice and warm. Get all the contaminants and everything that's in it mixed up into it real good so that when we drain it, it drains all that stuff out rather than settled in the bottom of the oil pan. That's the idea anyway. So we'll do that, and then we'll get the oil draining. We'll get the air filters, fuel filters, all that kind of stuff. I've only got about an hour and a half before I've got to take off for today. I have stuff going on tonight, so I don't know if we'll get all this done tonight or not, but we'll see. I don't know when Brock's coming back. This is usually something I have him do. He likes doing it, so. But he's not here. It's got to get done. We'll head up the steps here. This used to be our office before we added on to the shop there, and now we use it for some parts storage. Things like all our filters. So we've got some big ones sitting here. S780, engine debris, primary, secondary air, primary engine. There's a whole bunch of them. So I need to get the book out and see what all we need to do. We're about 800 and something hours on it. I don't think it is time for hydraulic oil and all that just yet, but we do change the hydraulic oil filters every year. Okay, so we've got the combine outside warming up. I went upstairs, got all those filters. I brought everything down. Let's go through what we've got here. Starting with the big ones, we have the primary engine air filter and the secondary engine air filter. So this one fits inside of that one. I'll show you those as we're taking them out and changing them. Those are an annual change or so many hours, but I change them every year. We do blow them out a couple times throughout the season, at least the main one, not the inner one. But regardless, I change them annually, every year. Okay. These two also air filters, same system. We're an inner and an outer, or a primary and a secondary. This is, they call it the engine debris management system. Basically, it's the big cabinet that pressurizes around the exhaust components that get super hot to keep dirt away from them so it doesn't start on fire. Those are those. Okay, we'll talk about those more later. We have recirculating cab filter. So this is the one that goes inside the cab that pulls air from in the cab, cleans it, circulates it through the vents and AC system. This is the cab air filter for the external. This one gets super dirty, really, really dirty. So we'll put a new one of those in. we have hydraulic oil filter, one of them. We got a couple other ones I got to go find, I forgot about, but we've got them up there, I saw them. So that's the one that goes up kind of inside the right-hand dual by the feeder house. This is the primary fuel filter. For some reason, I cannot find a secondary fuel filter for the combine up there, and I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if we didn't get one last year when I ordered filters, or if I used it for something else. It's weird that I would use one without the other, so that makes me think either I forgot to order it or I didn't get delivered it when I did order it. One of those two things happened. And then this one here is the engine oil filter. It says 9510R on it, but it is both. And the reason that I don't have one on the shelf is because we had to change engine oil on this in the spring before we used it, because it went to the dealer last year, me expecting them to do it. They did not, so I had to do it. And so we used the engine oil filter that I had on the shelf for that. It is the same engine as the 9R, so we'll just use the one for that, and I'll get a replacement before we have to change the engine oil in the 9R. Assuming that the dealer's not doing that now while it is up there. So then we have a couple more hydraulic filters that I need to get. Okay, let's get that brought inside. We gotta find a couple of buckets so we can catch the oil. We'll bring it in, get it draining. Before we shut this off, check hours, 871.2. Okay, bucket, right there. This is the hose where all the oil is gonna come down. We're gonna close this because it's gonna be in the way. Okay, so we've got that bucket staged there. Now we climb up to the engine. Not bad. It's not bad. Okay. And then right down there, my light again. There's a little quarter turn valve. Right here. And it's draining. We're gonna crack the dipstick so we can get some air. I don't know if that matters or not. But now you go watch it, because you don't want to overfill that bucket. Okay. Now we'll swap those when that one gets full. It doesn't hold more than 10 gallons, so that'll be plenty. We have a old chemical shuttle that we use for used oil that we usually set right there. We need to get that brought in the shop, but for now it can sit in the buckets. Okay, we got our buckets switched, and now we can start working on changing some other filters while we let that drain for a while. We'll start here. Primary engine air filter. Fits inside this big canister. Not terrible. A little dirty. That's a big filter. You can see the inner one there. Trying not to get dirt everywhere. And that one looks clean. It looks perfectly clean. It's not. I promise you it's not. But it's not in bad shape. Would that one have to get changed? No. It wouldn't have to. It's going to. Okay, so we got that big one out of there. I grabbed a bottle of window cleaner and a rag. We're just going to spray some of this in here. Get the dust out. Probably not super critical, because as soon as I turn it on and take it to a field, it's going to get dusty again, right? But makes me feel better, like I'm doing a good job. So you guys see the environment that this combine runs in when we're harvesting, and so you know that it's in a lot of dust, and that's why we have a very robust filter system in order to keep that dust from getting into the engine. It does do a pretty good job. You can see we got this big air scoop on the side here, so it's pulling air from above down in through this rotary screen. This spins, and then it's got a brush here that's actually sucking any large debris off of that. Actually blows it out through the back, and then these are where the air is going in for the engine air filter. So it's relatively filtered air, or screened air, I guess I should say, before it gets to here to get filtered, but it still has a lot of dust in it. And these filters can get pretty dusty. I don't ever really have a problem with it telling me that it's plugged. I don't know that I've ever seen that error message come up that the air filter is restricted, the engine air filter, and needs cleaned, so that's good. And I don't blow it out every day like some people do because, well, there's a risk of damage, and I don't find that to be necessary. So we clean it when it needs to be cleaned, or once or twice a year when it's convenient, and we change them every year. The last thing you want to do is blow a hole in your air filter, because that completely reduces its effectiveness. But that's why there's a backup filter. You never ever blow this one out, because if you put a hole in both of them, then you're in big trouble. All right, now that I've got that cleaned up relatively, got most of the dust out of there, I'm going to pull the inner one out. We're going to put it on the bench, and I'm going to compare it to the new one. Can you tell which one's the new one and which one's the old one? Yeah, neither can I from that view. I do know which one is which, though. I'll stick a light inside of it, though, and you can see. I don't know if you guys can see, but I can see some of the dirt that's on it. Ah! They're not flat on the bottom, so they don't stand very good. Yeah, that's definitely not going to show up on video, but there is a little bit of a difference in how clean they look when you compare them that way. Anyway, doesn't matter. You're right, it's not dirty. It probably doesn't need to be changed. It's going to get changed. Take a paint marker, write the new hours and the date on the new filter, and we'll take this one up and get it put in. I don't like having the inner one off longer than I have to because, well, then it lets dust in. Did the same thing with the outer air filter here. So that is clean. I did the math on the hours. I think it was 336 hours for the year. It's not too bad. It's about what we put on. So it's a good deal. Okay, what's next? Let's go do cab airs. I will put that cover back on, but I actually used the hose to wash that out, so it's got to dry for a little bit. Okay, we're going to do the recirc filter in the cab. That's this little square one. So that one sits up in this little cover here. Come on. Oh, everything's harder with one hand. Everything's harder. Set that off to the side. It's dirty. You can see it. It's dirty. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't make a mess. Okay. Filthy. Yeah. That's the dust in the cab. It's not supposed to be there. Not too bad up there. Do we got a rag? Yeah. Okay. That's good on that one. This cover's not in too bad a shape. We'll clean it up a little bit when we this way. When we do the interior cleaning in here. Come on. All right. The things I do to do everything one-handed. Okay, the next one. Yep. The next one is right here, and it's dirty. So this is the cab air filter for clean air, or outside air, and you can see this perforated here. That's where it's drawn air in. It's a terrible spot to draw air in. And it goes through that little hole, and then up through that filter into the top of the cab where the fan is, where I think the fan is. Anyway, that's where it goes to get to the air conditioner, and this filter is bad. Take the whole thing down here. Yeah, let's just come right over to the trash can. Yeah. I know I cleaned this out Look at the layer of dirt in there. I know that I cleaned this out after bean harvest before we started into too much corn. Yikes. Okay, let's wash this up. Okay, it's clean. I'm gonna let it dry before we can put a new filter in there too, so. All right, let's move on to the hydraulic oil filter. Also, I was looking at the fuel filters a little bit more, and turns out the number on my sheet has been substituted to a different number. I know this because the filter that's on there has the new number. It's a DZ number. Happens to be this one, which I have, again, for the 9R. But I have one, so that's good. Okay, this hydraulic oil filter, this is the one over here up by the feeder house. It's not terribly hard to get to. I'll set that, it's up there. Right here, we're gonna get a drain pan. Probably gonna need a filter wrench. Take that one off and spin the new one on. Quick and easy. Still got the fluorescent red oil in here. They put basically a red dye in it that glows in a UV light so they can detect leaks at the factory. The oil that we add after we change it doesn't have that, so it'll go away eventually. But yeah, it's still in there because we haven't had to change oil yet. Okay, there's that one. We spilled a little oil on them hoses and stuff. Really not too bad, but that's why I always like to do this before I'm totally done washing so we can clean that stuff up a little bit better. Okay, we've got to do our engine oil filter and our fuel filters and these other couple of hydraulic filters I went and got. I think there's two of them. There might just be one of these, but anyway, there's at least one. I gotta get the book out yet. I do have to go though, so that's all we're gonna get for today. I did want to talk about the filters a little bit before we go though, right? So obviously I talked about the engine air filters and how you can blow them out and you can probably stretch the life and get some more use out of them and not have to change them. And the filters are expensive, especially, you know, the John Deere filters. These are original equipment manufacturer filters. They're Deere branded. I know Deere doesn't build them, but they're Deere branded filters. So, well, a couple of things. One, could we go buy filters elsewhere? Yeah, sure, we could. We could go to Napa or anywhere else and buy equivalent or compatible filters that would work with it. Is there a difference in the quality? Well, that depends on who you ask. I have no idea if there is or not. I think it's Fleetguard or Donaldson. One of those two is the manufacturer for the Deere filters. So you could probably get the same thing in their part number, whether the Wicks or Napa filter, whoever, I don't know, are the same, better, I don't know. I do know that Deere is rather particular, and they let you, because they're not allowed to void the warranty if you use third-party filters and oil. However, what they do is instead of saying the warranty is void, they extend these service or intervals if you use Deere branded stuff. So if we don't use Deere filter and oil in this machine, you're supposed to change it every, I think, 250 hours. If you do use Deere filter and oil, you're allowed to go to 500 hours. Now, we're doing it at 336 because that's annual for us. I don't know if it's worth it or not. I've also heard that the Napa ones aren't really that much cheaper than the Deere ones, and so you're not really gaining that much or saving that much by using third-party filters. Again, I don't know if that's true or not. I've never really priced them out. We always place a filter order at our John Deere dealer when they have their annual, or I guess semi-annual now, filter sale in February. It's always, you know, we get 10 or 12% off or whatever it is. I feel like it's reasonable. So that's how we have done it. Sorry, I had to end that one kind of quick because I was getting a call from my wife, and it was not my wife. It was my 18-month-old daughter. I never heard anybody else, but she talked to me for a while and then said bye, and okay. Anyway, the other thing, obviously you can extend your intervals on the air filters by blowing them out and stuff, but listen, if you can afford the $500,000 combine, you can put $1,000 worth of filters in it every year, or when it needs it. So that's kind of my philosophy. I usually am pretty much by the book. When the book says to change things, we do it. And whether that's hourly or annually, I mean, really we're doing it annually because we're never putting the hours on to reach the hour limit on whether that's engine oil or filters or whatever. So it's how we do it. I know that doesn't necessarily the way that you have to do it. I know other people do it different, and we could probably do a little bit cheaper and save a little bit of money somewhere, but I don't think that air filters and oil filters are a place to cut corners and try and save a few pennies here and there on the equipment. The amount of money that we spend on them compared to the overall budget is pretty minimal, and the savings there I just don't think are worth it. So that's why we do the way we do. I'm not saying that's the right way or the way that you have to do it, just how we do it. So that's my lesson for the day, I guess. Anyway, I'm going home because I've got stuff going on. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tomorrow we'll plan on finishing the filters and stuff. I don't know when Brock's coming. I assume not today, tomorrow, but I don't really know. If we get that done and we're looking for something to do, we're going to start tearing row units apart on the corn head. We might have to go make a parts run, or at least an order to get stuff coming and know what we need. And I should check on our tractor, see what's going on with that. I don't think that we're going to do a total paint job and total rebuild on this corn head. We are going to tear everything apart and clean it up good and put it back together. Just debating on how far to go with it, which is usually the sign of I don't know where to stop, so we just keep going, and eventually we end up painting the whole head, and it's ridiculous. Sometimes that's just how it goes for me. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll start tearing into this and figuring out where we're at, what we need to do, whether we need to replace gathering chains, anything else. I do know that my deck plates have quite a bit of wear in it. I don't know if you guys can see this divot right there. See how that curves in a little bit? That's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be straight. So might need to look into deck plates or something. I don't know. We should also see if we can track down our electrical issues on this head. I'm not looking forward to that because I don't even know where to start, but it's causing me a problem. So something we should look into. See you guys tomorrow.